Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. I'm Tom Leach. Jonathan Fowler joins me again this week, and we're going to do two of these podcasts. One for the card at Santa Anita, which is what we'll get to here in just a moment, and the other, which will hit some stakes races in New York and Florida that include preps for the Kentucky Derby. But Jonathan, let's start out west. It's Big Cap Day, so we'll get to the Santa Anita Handicap here in a moment. But they have 4 graded stakes races, and we'll start with a Derby prep there, which is the 7th race on their card. The Grade 2 San Felipe, and you've got Dortmund going to be a big favorite in there for Bob Baffert. Can you beat the fave?
You know, I look at him and between the two undefeated horses of Dortmund and Ocho. Dortmund definitely stands out to me, and, you know, he showed a lot in his last race. Looking defeated at the top of the stretch and then, you know, fighting back to win. So, but, you know, like you said, he's going to be a huge favorite. I don't believe Ocho can win. There's only one horse that I think could have some upswing to him, and that is the number 6, Prospect Park. He won his maiden two back and then came on to beat other winners, optional claiming 80,000 at Santa Anita, going a mile. So, and he did so very impressively. He was stuck on the rail throughout the race, and then as soon as he had opening, Kent DeSormo shot him out, and he just won going away in a hand ride. So that horse, I think, could really have some turn of foot to him in this race with some of the speed that's going to be here. So I'm going to try to upset Dortmund with Prospect Park. It's kind of dangerous, but I'm going to actually do those 1-2 with Ocho coming in third.
As Jim Goodman always says when he joins me on these, we don't talk about this beforehand. I've making the same pick for the same reasons. I was intrigued by the 15-point jump in the Beyer Fig from the first start this year to the second. And then when I went and watched that race, you're right, the turn of foot was very impressive. I mean, he was locked and loaded into the first turn and just trapped down on the rail, but the horse didn't really fight DeSormo. He just... You know, you could tell DeSormo had a ton of horse, but sometimes horses will fight like that, and then when he turns him loose, there's nothing there. And this horse settled enough that when DeSormo turned him loose, it was like he was shot out of a cannon. And I was just so impressed. Though I don't know if he's good enough, but he'll be a much better price than Dortmund, and if he's good enough, it's going to look like a great value. So I'm with you. I'm taking Prospect Park to upset Dortmund, and I'll use a Prospect Park Ocho exacta box as well. But I'm going to take a shot there with Prospect Park. He looks special. 9th race is the Grade 2 San Carlos. 4-year-olds and up at 7 furlongs. You have a horse in here that has made a big improvement from one year to the next. Conquest 2-Step was a nice horse last year, but in the 2 starts this year has really run lights out. Almost beat, or I say this year, the last 2 starts. It was late in 2014. He almost beat Shared Belief, and then came back and had an even more improved effort in the next start, and now this is third off a layoff. So I think Conquest 2-Step is as good as those numbers suggest. I think he can win the San Carlos right back. I'm going to use him with Cheetah, Majestic City, and Kobe's back. How about you?
You know, I can't say anything more about him either. I used him in the Palos Verdes. Mostly because I thought there was going to be enough speed in that race for him to really benefit from, and I think the same thing happens here. Cheetah is the quality of the speed in this race, so I definitely see him as the second choice. And I'm going to throw in Wild Dude, the number 7. He's gotten a couple really nice races underneath of him, and I don't know if 7 furlongs is his best race. I think 6 furlongs is probably more suitable to him, but he's just a quality horse. He's competed in, you know, the last 4 starts. He's been in Grade 2 events and finishing very well. So I think he's another horse to consider here. So Wild Dude, I'll throw in with those other 2.
10th race, the Grade 1 Kilroe Mile. It's a Grade 1, as we said. 4-year-olds and up. And I thought a pretty well-matched group, big field. I think on the outside's a tough draw. So I think I will take a stand against anything out there. And there are some contenders out there. So I thought this was a tough spot. I think I'd probably want to do a box of the horses I like in here. But what did you go with?
Kind of an interesting little angle here. Speed doesn't look abundant in this race, and nothing of severe quality speed. So I'm going with the number 4, Holy Loot. The horse last time out has been an optional claiming sprinting at Santa Anita. a very niche kind of race out there. Going to stretch out to the mile for the first time, making his third start on the turf. So I'm going to think that he's going to maybe be able to stretch out here. He's by Midnight Loot out of a Holy Bull mare. So I think the stretch out won't be that big of a deal for him. Being the only speed, maybe he gets a little bit loose and is able to settle a little bit. But I'm going to try to beat some of these other horses with Holy Loot, the number 4. And then I'm going to use the 2 other quality horses I think is the number 9, Home Run Kitten, and the outside number 11, Za Approval. So I'm going to try to beat them with Holy Loot and probably use him on top with the 9 and the 11.
I ended up taking a shot with the 6, Silentio. I think on his best day, he's got enough class to win a race like this. Has more seconds and thirds than wins, which I don't like. But I think on his best day, he's got a shot. He'll be a really nice price because of the layoff, and the last race of 2014 wasn't very good. So I think, mile is his best distance, the right track for him. So I'm going to take a little shot here with Silentio for the win, but I'll use him in an exacta box with the 8 Summer Front, the 4 Holy Loot. I think that's a very live price horse there, and the 2 Hey Dude, and just go against anything that's beyond the 9 hole out in this 1 mile race. The 11th is the Grade 1 Santa Anita handicap for 4-year-olds and up at 1.25 miles, and I couldn't find any reason to go against the favorite here, Shared Belief in the big cap. He's 107 buyer in the prep. Was impressive, handling California Chrome and the rest, and he could even improve off that in the third start off the layoff. I think he's likes the track. He's won at 1.25 miles, which is a plus, and I thought he was the best 3-year-old, but the circumstances kept him from getting a chance to show that and win the honors. But I think Shared Belief wins this. And then I have some intriguing horses that I would like for the second half of the exacta that could make a decent price. I think Dynamic Sky could run well, coming turf to dirt. Moreno, there's not a ton of speed in here, I didn't think. And then the Hard Aces coming, has got acquired and comes out to the West Coast after running very impressively down at the fairgrounds. So somebody thought he ran impressive enough to bring him out to Santa Anita. And I think he's intriguing. I think he goes into the Sadler barn now. But Shared Belief is the one for me. How about you?
Man, you take Shared Belief out of this race, and this is a horse race. But
yeah.
You just have to kind of single him on top and then play the guessing game for the rest of these guys. There's some other interesting horses in here. The number 1, Cool Samurai. He's making the second start of his 4-year-old campaign, and he's a lightly raced horse. And he was closing very impressively in his last race. And if you watch that repeat of that race, and after the wire, he's galloping out very well. And he finished second to a good horse, the Midnight Hawk. Cool Samurai in the stretch out, maybe he does something. Moreno, he's a very quality horse. I don't think 1.25 miles is his best race, but still against this group, he's a big contender. Another horse that could do well in his third start in the United States is Catch a Flight, the number 12. He won last time out, stretching out to 1.8 miles in his second start in the United States, and won very nicely. So not very impressively, but I'm kind of searching here with some horses that I think we've heard of before that aren't doing as well, such as Imperative and Patriotic Pride. I just don't think they're as good as they used to be. So I'm trying to find some horses that are kind of moving up in their career. So obviously Shared Belief on top, and I'm going to try to throw in Cool Samurai, Moreno, and then the outside Catch a Flight.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Best of luck on your wagers. Keep your account funded at KeenelandSelect.com. When the weather's like it is, you can't always get to the track, or simulcasting in some cases is canceled. Better days are coming, but make sure you always have a little cash in that Keeneland Select account so you can make a play when you see it come up on your radar screen. And remember, we have another podcast that we'll do on the stakes races in Florida and at Aqueduct, so make sure you listen in for that. That's this particular edition of the In the Money podcast. For Jonathan Fowler, I'm Tom Leach for KeenelandSelect.com.